So Mondays. Mondays is going to be when Beastars comes out. Just, so in case anybody was curious, I know it takes a little bit for these videos to come out, but hey, Netflix, so yeah, Mondays. Also, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Beastars discussion videos. Today we're going to be talking all about episode 2, The Gray Police Dog Runs Around Haphazardly. But before we get to the video, quick reminder if you haven't done so yet, to hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AniTube know that you're here. So without further ado, let's all get out our magnifying glasses, put on our detective deer stalking cap, and let's get ready to dive into Beastars Season 2, Episode 2. Okay, so Episode 2 is a lot more story-driven than the first episode was. I saw some people saying the first episode, I'm surprised you talked as much as you did, because the first episode didn't seem to have a whole lot going on for it. I kind of disagree. I do feel like a lot happened in the first episode. It's just, it's also an episode that sort of catches you up to speed as to where everybody is, I thought episode 1 was pretty great. Episode 2 is pretty much like an improvement in most ways, though. Episode 2 is significantly stronger and sort of brings us back to the last arc of last season, where it's sort of this mystery of what's going on, and it then ties back into who killed Tem, right? That's still an issue that we're dealing with. And this episode introduces us to the mysterious, strange specter-like creature who was stalking Tem's final resting place, as it were, from last week. And okay, this is where I have to address something, because I said in that video, I don't know who it is, and everyone's like, it's clearly the snake. And I was like, cool, I have no idea what we're talking about, because I don't watch PVs, because they spoil things. So I didn't know that there was a giant snake, and so that was a bit of a bummer. Would have liked to have, just been like, oh, whoa, a crazy big snake. That's cool. But all the comments were like, it's a giant snake. It's clearly the giant snake from the PV. And I was like, cool. I didn't see that. You guys aren't to blame though, because, most people watch PVs. So I'm not blaming you. It's just damn, I would have liked to have seen that and not known about it, It's why some people avoid movie trailers, It's they just want to go in not knowing much, and that's how I am with anime. I'd rather, I don't mind reading the synopsis and seeing a key visual, but outside of that, I don't want anything else, right? I'll occasionally watch PVs here and there if it's something I'm already hyped for. And I was already hyped for Beastars, but I just didn't want to know much because Beastars has sort of a mystery element going for it. So I didn't want to know. But regardless, I found out that it was a giant snake. So I was a bit bummed when I saw the snake, when I saw Hexai, and I couldn't be surprised. Now that said, it's not like that's their entire personality. Hexai still has a lot more going on than just being a giant snake. In fact, Hexai is the sole security guard of Cherryton Academy, which was a bit of a surprise. I wasn't even, Lugosi says this, and I have to agree that I wasn't even aware that the school had security. Especially since, Tem friggin' died, got eaten. You'd where the hell was Hexai when all that was going on? I don't know. I feel like that's probably going to come up, in fact. Or maybe not. You can't be everywhere at once. It's not that surprising. But Hexai as a character is really interesting. I like how they, okay, first of all, and I'm thinking of Sun immediately. I don't think Sun is going to enjoy Season 2. Because in the same way that I have some pretty severe arachnophobia, which is why I'm not talking about the spider isekai, Sun has some pretty intense fear of snakes. So I feel like seeing the giant snake's probably not going to, make him feel... I should probably message him about it, just so you know, if you catch up. But yeah, honestly, no, seeing it from that point of view, I can actually see the snake being kind of intimidating. I thought the snake was kind of cool. I like that Hexai has the eyeballs as a pattern, right? So that's why we kept seeing eyes moving around, right? It was just Hexai. So it explains itself really well. It sort of ties everything up in a neat little bow, and I really dug that. I thought that they handled Hexai's introduction and how it ties into the last episode really well. Hexai themselves is very clearly into Lugosi, they're just sort of, they're enamored by Lugosi in the same way that we are, right? They know Lugosi from when he punched Bill in the face. And admittedly, that moment is awesome and would make anybody a Lugosi fan. But they insist that maybe Lugosi is going to be the one to figure this out, right? Because Hexai doesn't want to go off assumptions, since that could lead them to the wrong culprit, right? But Hexai does note that the instant spring hits, there's going to be a whole new batch of students, and it will be way harder to catch the culprit. So if they don't solve it by spring, they likely aren't going to solve it at all. So Hexai sort of enlists Lugosi after Lugosi has this cool little moment where he like kind of feels the scales of Hexai and notes like, I had no idea that snakes went through that sort of trauma, right? Where Hexai says like my greatest shame is not having limbs like you, and like what power lies in those limbs. And he's like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm really sorry. Because that's the power of Best Boy Lugosi, right? He just feels, he's empathetic, he feels for other people. And that sort of makes Hexai go like, okay, if, then follow me, and knowing what I know about you, you might actually be the one who can help me fix this. Which is, kind of cool, and I like that we're getting back to the whole Tem situation, because, we kind of just dropped it in the second half of Season 1. Not that I minded, mind you, because, the second half of Season 1 is dope, and, obviously you're not going to have the entire show centered around what happened to Tem, but it is a key plot element, you want to know what happened to Tem, in the same way you might want to know what happened to, Robb and Aaron in Game of Thrones. It's still going to be a critical plot point. And Hexai definitely chooses the right boy for the job, you know what I'm saying? However, unbeknownst to both Hexai and Lugosi, Headmaster Gon is dealing with a whole headache of concerns and fury from the board, right? There's all these different academies and the general school board of their country, town, I have no idea. But he's dealing with the board, right? And they're all just like, what's going on at Cherryton? You guys haven't delivered a Beastar in forever, and what happened to Louis? And we heard he's not even in school anymore, and what's going on? And some kid died, right? All this junk, and they're throwing it at Headmaster Gon. And I actually kind of felt bad for the guy, right? Because holy crap, I didn't realize how intense things were for him, and how I don't remember much about Headmaster Gon outside of the fact that I remember, or that I know that him dealing with this must have been incredibly stressful, because he seems like kind of a timid soul, So for him to be like, I don't even like the idea of the Beastar in the first place. I didn't even want to put that kind of pressure on one of my students. This is ridiculous. Heroes aren't made, they're born, right? And I was like, agree to disagree. I think you can, a person's some life experience will determine whether or not they're a hero. I think some heroes are born, but I also think some heroes can be, crafted through hardship. But I do get the sentiment, right? I know what he's trying to say. And he even says, he's like, these students are busy studying for tests. They're falling in love. They're trying to figure themselves out. They're trying to make their way in the world. And you want one of them to be a hero for the whole animal kingdom? Have you lost your minds? I actually kind of felt for Headmaster Gon. It's the first time the idea of the Beastar seemed like a lot more pressure than it was kind of worth to me, right? Where it's I never even really thought about it like that. And I like that they address it outright. However, the mouse dude points out that, just like a cat, to say something like that. I'm like, bro, you better... He could eat you, dog. Or mouse. You better be careful, my dude. But the mouse, whatever school he leads, the mouse dude suggests, okay, so how about we kill two birds, one stone then? You don't have a new Beastar with Louis out of the picture. And if you still have this dude who killed one of your students running around, easy way to solve it. Beastar is whoever solves the case. Well, guess what? Lugosi is currently in the middle of solving the case. I feel very dumb for having not put this together myself, but is Lugosi gonna be the Beastar? I was positive it was gonna be Juno. I was so sure it was gonna be Juno. Because I was like, Louis seems too obvious, it's not gonna be Louis, Louis not gonna come back in time and be the Beastar. I think Louis completely given up on that. So I don't think it's Louis. I guess the more I think about it, Juno was maybe also too obvious. And Lugosi's the main character, so it makes sense why he would be the pick, right? But I'm still just sort of shocked by that. I don't know why, but I feel like Lugosi might stumble backwards into being the Beastar. But the more you think about it, it kind of makes sense, given everything that we know about Lugosi. He is sort of this bridge between both carnivores and herbivores, and he is the one who might be able to bring balance to the force, you know what I mean? Like, there's something about Lugosi that people naturally gravitate towards, like outside of the alpacas, because obviously, they're still kind of shaken up over what happened to Tem, and I don't really blame them. At first, I was just like, you be nice to Lugosi, but it does make sense why they would react that way. That said, I'm just pleasantly surprised that Lugosi would be the one or rather might be the one to be the Beastar, because I just genuinely didn't think about it, and I feel kind of dumb because he's the main character. How the hell did I not think about it? But there you have it. On top of that, too, Lugosi playing detective is actually kind of fun. The goodest boy of them all. Jack is the goodest boy of them all. Lugosi is the bestest boy of them all. And it's just interesting, right? It's just interesting seeing our best boy suddenly, going out and trying to solve the mystery of who killed Tem, and inadvertently solving another mystery where he fights, I believe it was Roger. Roger the kangaroo, which reminds me of, I think there's a Roger in Tekken. I could be wrong. I think there's a Roger in Tekken who I haven't seen in a while. But yeah, every kangaroo needs to be named Roger, I guess. But yeah, Roger the kangaroo is apparently the one who was stealing clothes from, the girl's change room like a creep. And him and Lugosi trade blows in a moment that made me go yes, Attack on Titan fans, CG is all bad, right? All CG is bad, right? Go screw yourselves. Because, in that moment, Orange is look what we could do, and just, shows this cool fight. It's very quick. It all happens super fast, but it looks smooth as all hell, and Lugosi takes down Roger no problemo, which is impressive because, Roger's apparently a well-known boxer. But what's more impressive is that Carl, Tem's old buddy, after getting some help from Els, I believe her name was, Els, sorry. Els from who was the girl who Tem was sort of interested in. We met her in season 1. Her and Lugosi kind of became friends in the midst of season 1, even though she didn't really trust him at first. But she's back, and I'm like, hey, I remember her. Hell yeah, sweet. What's she up to? And because I don't want anything to happen to her, just because it'd be sad, right? Because after everything that happened with Tem, she kind of deserves to just be happy and be a side character in all this, not get too involved and get hurt or anything. But she helps out Lugosi to get Carl's attention, and Carl in turn helps out Lugosi and gives him Tem's old journal. And inside is something that really made me sad. Again, Tem as a character is someone who we don't know, but they do such a good job at making you feel as though his loss still affects the viewer. You know what I mean? The loss of Tem sort of weighs heavy on all of the characters, and so in turn sort of weighs heavy on the viewer. And the way that Tem had said that we're all stronger together and we're friends after all, right? Stuff like that. It's all things that Louis had sort of hammered into Tem, saying listen, Tem, it is what it is. We are, yes, there are carnivores, yes, there are herbivores, and yes, we have our differences, but at the end of the day, we're all friends, right? This is the drama club is for everybody, and we are going to do this together, and we're stronger together. And Lugosi obviously reading this, and even seeing his own name show up in Tem's journal, where Tem says, even Lugosi, this carnivore, he listens and really listens, and he's a good dude, and all this stuff. Basically Tem just saying that there's not much of a difference between them outside of one group eats the other. But even then, not anymore, or at least, not if you don't know about the black market, which we will get to in a second. But it's sort of heartbreaking watching Lugosi, like that shot of Lugosi looking out the window, thinking about both Tem and Louis as he's reading the journal, and just the weight of everything that's happened sort of weighing on him, and that sort of wistful look out the window is just heavy. And again, Lugosi's always been best boy, but that moment was very well handled. I thought everything about Lugosi was great, but what I love is that Lugosi also thinks about what Louis clearly wrote on the flowers he left for Tem, saying, Tem, forgive me. Which leads very nicely into talking about this scene. So, I was right. Because I was like, I knew this was going to happen. Because I was like, okay, how the hell did Louis survive season 1? Like, how did he survive that? I can only think of one possible way out. And he took it. Louis in charge of the the Leo group, or the Shishigumi, which is an amazing name. But yeah, I'm going to be calling the Leo group because, you know, PAS calls them the Leo group, so that's what I'm going to call them. And I think both names are perfectly fine. But yeah, it's kind of shocking to see Louis end up being the leader of the Leo group, right? Because the Leo group, you know, they're obviously all carnivores, and obviously all the other groups in the black market area are all carnivores as well, which leads to the turtle guy being like, you're aware, like, have you lost your mind? Like, you're aware that you're standing in the middle of a deer, like a deer meat shop, right? And he's like, yeah, and it's like, whoa, Louis, that's messed up, bro. And it's funny because, like, this is where you kind of understand why he's saying, Tem, forgive me. I think he truly blames himself for what happened to Tem. And we know that he does, all right? Like, through the events of season 1, we know that he does. But I think the Tem, forgive me thing is also in part because of what he's become. You know what I mean? Like, he's actively leading a group of people who are carnivores. And I think he knows that Tem would have a hard time reconciling what Louis has become. And it's a very heavy scene. And Louis, I think, like, as much as I love Lugosi, right? Like, Lugosi's my favorite, because your favorite doesn't necessarily have to be the most complex character, but Louis is easily, far and away, the most complex and probably the most interesting character, just because of everything that happens to him so far, like, over the course of season 1 and these first 2 episodes of season 2. Louis is, like, next level. Even that moment where he's like, you were looking at me like I was a tasty piece of meat. And the other lion's like, well, no. And he just shoots him. And I'm like, all right, Louis, goddamn. Like, Louis is killing people now. Which, again, like, it's heavy. But what I love is the newfound ideology, I suppose, right? Like, this sort of ideology from Louis where there is no, like, there's only 2 types of animals, and they're not carnivores and herbivores. There's only 2 types of animals. It's winners and losers, right? And so Louis sees himself as one of the winners, I guess. And it's really interesting, and I do not know where the hell we're going. I don't know how this is going to tie into the Tem investigation. The ED seems to show, like, Louis and the one lion with the glasses are going to have some sort of, like, dynamic, which I'm very curious to see because the ED is heckin' pretty. But yeah, this was a crazy friggin' episode. This was like the Beastars I missed. You know, like, episode 1 was a nice, calm reintroduction, but this is Beastars, man. Like, this is why we watch. This is good stuff. But with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here, so I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AniTube know that you're here. And of course, before we take off, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button to get a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course your name scrolling past the screen here. Or you can check out that Patreon link in the description. Either way, it is super appreciated. So once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron, and yes, mark it in your calendars. Friggin' Tuesdays. Did I say Monday at the beginning of the video? I meant Tuesday. I'm recording this on a Monday, but you will see it on a Tuesday. So Tuesdays. That's when these videos comes out. Whoever, the first person to say, JoJo screwed it up, it's actually Tuesday, I will heart your comment and pin it. So the first person to type out in the comments, JoJo screwed up, it's actually Tuesdays, not Mondays, you will get the pinned comment. And until next time, you stay classy, AniTube, and you wash your dang hands.